Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the install. I'm Coach Gene Clemens, our Patreon exclusive content. Thank you if you are a member of my Patreon. I really do appreciate you and appreciate the opportunity to continue to give you all of this information. We have a lot of things to cover. Let's get started. First, we are talking zone today. So just so you know, we're talking inside zone, we're going to cover outside zone, and then we're going to cover how to run both versus a 33, a 34, a 4-2-5, or a 4-4, because essentially you're dealing with typically the same type of box, a 4-3 and a 5-2. If you're running your offense and you are a zone team, if you've watched any of my other videos, I've said it before, you're either a zone team or you're not. Running zone as kind of like a small piece of your offense is really, really difficult, because although it seems simple to run zone because, everybody just kind of goes the same way, the reality is that people have to be very disciplined in what they do, especially along the offensive line and with your backs and their aiming points, to make sure that you give yourself the best opportunity to be successful. So when we're talking about zone, everything is about alignment, assignment, and technique. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if zone is your thing, or if you're thinking about zone being your thing, you are definitely in the right place. Okay, so let's start off with basic blocking. So the way I'm going to break this down and try to make it a little bit more digestible, so that when you go back to try to teach it, or when you try to implement it, you know which sections you're going to look at. We're going to start off with just blocking schemes. So we're going to focus on the box. And you can see here that I have a 5-man offensive line, and then I have an offensive line with a tight end, because ultimately you're probably going to either run no tight ends or one tight end set. Regardless of whether you are under center or in the shotgun, nothing for these guys are going to change. So we're going to start off versus the 33 and look at the tendencies that come with the inside zone. Now, one thing you have to determine, what I like to say is, inside zone, you want to have wider splits. And you want your offensive line to have wider splits, because the more you can spread out the defensive line, the bigger the holes are going to be to run through. Now, the one thing you do lose when you have wider splits is that you don't really get the natural double teams. But the truth is in a zone, you don't actually supposed to have double teams. Everybody has essentially a lane that they're trying to operate. So if we're running zone here, zone to the right, everybody has a lane that they are operating in on the zone. So when my tackle takes his zone step to the right, he's getting on his track. And they're not supposed to deviate from that track. And whatever comes across their face in that track, they block. So here, there's already a guy in there, he's going to block him. This guy's going to work up. That linebacker may be there, he may not be. This knows if he slants this way, he actually goes into this guy's track, which means this guy would work up to this linebacker. If this nose slants this way, the center takes him, this guard works up to that linebacker. Backside, he's not going to block the end. Most likely we're going to be in shotgun, and we're going to read that guy, and he's just going to work up to the next level, which will most likely be this guy who will be trying to chase from the backside. So when we think about them on their track, we're not really worried about double teams. What we want to do is, inside zone gives us an opportunity to widen them out. So in the 30 front, when we add the tight end, you may get the pony that's here, or you might get the linebacker pulling down, and coming down into this 9 technique, or head up on the tight end, and then these linebackers bossing over into 30s, essentially. Boom, boom. Now, if there's 3, this pony's out here, pony would be on the backside to come. So you're going to see some variants of either this or, like we said before, with the pony here. But we'll keep it with the pony right now and keep these linebackers here, right? And then again, the same thought process is right here. Everybody's going to get on their track. The tight end responsibility is similar. I'm sorry, not similar, is the exact same as the offensive line's responsibility. So everybody gets on their track. Everybody gets on their track. So now when we go to block this, and we know we have a track to go, here's your tight end. Zone step here. If this guy slants, he picks him up. This tackle works to the second level. But right, so we'll say here, 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 here. These 2 for those 2. So whomever doesn't block this nose works up to the second level. Whoever doesn't block the end, they work up to the second level. Again, he's going to work up to the second level because he has nobody blocking. But if he gets some type of blitz through the B gap, that's his guy. Same down here. Everybody takes their zone steps. And now we still have the same business going on. He ends up taking this guy because he's in a 9 technique. It's not going to slant across his face because now they have no contain. He's going to block that guy. These 2 for those 2. These 2 for those 2. This guy climbing to the next level, and we're most likely reading that defensive end. So that's how we're going to block inside zone versus a 33. Now, if we're going to block it versus a 34, watch this. We'll just quickly adjust these, and we'll keep this the same as far as the tracks. But watch how it actually works when we put these things into a 34. Now, all of a sudden, when we start looking at where these guys are lined up at, on the backside, he's a linebacker. They're probably not going to duplicate that gap, which means look how all of your blocking sets up. These 2 still for those 2, possibly this guy, but he's probably in a 5-man front. I'm sorry, in the 5-man offensive line with no tight ends or no fullbacks. He's probably going to be pulled away on a number 2. So now it's those 2 for those 2, these 2 for those 2. You've got to think this guy is probably coming here, so this dude will pick that end up. That guy becomes the read guy. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we can block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we can block 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here, he's there, they're there, double team, or those 2 for these 2. This guy gets true double on this nose. He may be able to get there unless that guy slants across his face. If he does, he picks him up. We read off of the backside. The backside end man on the line of scrimmage, whether that's this end or whether that's the linebacker. So if the end was the slant inside, which a lot of times he will do if that guy doesn't have a number 2, they'll be running some type of action, then this linebacker becomes the new read for your quarterback. So whether it's a 33 or a 34, we've got that covered. Okay, so let's talk outside zone. Now, a lot of times what we say about inside zone is we want inside zone our splits to be wide, but on outside zone, we really want tighter splits. And it's not really difficult to figure out why you want tighter splits on outside zone, because on outside zone, you want to take advantage of condensing the defense so that you can outflank it. Whereas on inside zone, you want to widen the defense out and be able to take advantage of those larger gaps up the middle. So if I'm running against outside zone, or if I want to run outside zone versus our 3-3 and our 3-4, I want to make sure that I am attacking the outside. Okay, so then what changes from the steps from inside zone to outside zone? Well, really, with inside zone, remember that I said that everybody had their kind of zone. Well, the same thing applies, except now you want your offensive line to really look to push everything this way. And I always tell them that I want them to try to reach the front side shoulder of the defender. Now, obviously, with a 3-man front, you may not have a front side shoulder of the defender. And so everyone wants to open up flat and come down. Everybody wants to open up flat and come down. My rule is, if you take 2 steps and you haven't reached the defender, then climb. So 2 steps, flat, and climb. Because I think that that will help you, A, be patient, which is what you need on the outside zone, but then also allow these guys, these defensive players, to set themselves up into disadvantaged positions. Now, if you have a guy at the point of attack, essentially, because we are trying to run outside zone, we're trying to get to the outside shoulder. The reason that outside zone works is because defensively, he should be trying to stop you. So if we have a back or receiver or whomever it might be running zone, and this defensive end tries to backdoor, now we've got the edge to go. But let's just say this defensive end keeps fighting. He keeps fighting. Well, if that defensive end keeps fighting and that guy's working to get over the top because he sees full flow outside zone, and this guy is trying to work to the A gap, but he doesn't make it, and now you have this gap and this gap both open. So when this running back reads it, he can stick his foot in the ground and go north and south. That's essentially the rules and the principles that come with outside zone. So if we're looking at this here, let's say we always want to assume that the defense is playing this perfectly, right? We always want to assume the defense is playing this perfectly. So when we take our zone steps, he comes flat, he's going to end up on the end. He comes flat, now he's working up. He comes flat, he's going to end up taking the nose. Backside guard would then work up. Backside tackle would work up. And so you can see that they still have zones that they have to take care of. But you also start to see where some of the gaps will be as everything that's right here gets shifted that way. So we take 2 flat steps and we climb. So if you're looking at me from behind and I'm a lineman, when I open up flat, right? 1, 2, now I'm looking to get upfield after that second step. And that's going to help them keep themselves flat enough to be able to reach whatever's going full speed, but then also give them angles to get to guys that may be chasing. So again, if we look down here versus a 3-3 with a tight end, it's the same thought process. Tight ends looking to hook or looking to reach that front side shoulder of the pony who's down here, or of this linebacker who might pull down and boss over these linebackers. So he ends up on there. He probably will end up on the end. And again, you just have to think about what responsibilities these defensive players would have. This pony's a D-gap defender, so he should be fighting to keep that D-gap. This end should be fighting to keep that C-gap unless they're playing a game. This nose should be fighting to keep this front side A. And this end, with the pony back there, probably if there's a number 2, definitely he's C-gap. If there's no number 2, then he's probably going to be B-gap. So let's just say right now there's a number 2 receiver over here, so the pony will probably be extended. Now we're looking here, who's going to probably climb? The guard's going to probably climb again. This guard's probably going to climb again. This tackle's probably going to climb. Now, if they started to play games and this end shot the B gap, here, you see how it's automatically going to run into this guard? And now this guy, this tackle, when he doesn't have anybody, will look to climb. That's why it's called zone, because everybody has a zone. If people come into your zone, you block them. It's just that simple. So now nose slants weak, guard picks him up, and the center climbs. But you have to be patient. You can't leave immediately. So if this guy just took off because he thought this nose was going to come front side and this nose slants backside, now maybe against the outside zone, not that big a deal, but versus the inside zone, definitely going to get you in trouble. So you want to make sure that you're taking your true 2 flat steps. Some people may even go 3 flat steps and climb. If you're looking at your outside zone from here, let's say we want to run outside zone and run pistol. His aiming point is 1 by 1 outside of the tight end's block. This really becomes like stretch and outside zone, the same thing. This quarterback has to get that ball to the running back in order to allow him to run that outside zone action. But you see how it works versus a 3-3. Now, if I was to quickly flip this and go to a 34, And I don't want to change much of anything as far as the blocking, just so you can see it, because again, we're dealing with a three-man alignment. Here's my backer now here. So you still see your backers aligned. Everything still matches up, whether you're in a 3-3 or a 3-4. It doesn't really particularly matter which one you're doing. So for me, I look at this blocking scheme against a 34 and a 33 very similarly. I don't really see many differences, except for personnel. You're probably going to get a lot more burly guys at linebacker down here than you would if you were talking about the ponies being set up. But other than that, your 33 and your 34 should yield very similar blocking schemes. So that's regardless of if you're in a 3-3 or you're facing a 3-3 or a 3-4 defense, it really should not matter. Now that we have a good understanding of the principles with inside zone and outside zone, and we've looked at it from a 33 perspective and a 34 perspective, let's start taking a look at the 40 fronts, and we're going to start with a 4-2 or the 4-4. And the reason why I just show an example of 4-2 and 4-4 together is because the truth is a 4-2-5, if played with one high safety, is essentially an undersized, more athletic 4-4. If you play a 4-2-5 and you roll back to two high safeties, it's essentially a 4-3 nickel. So if you think of it that way, it makes it really simple to understand why 4-2 and 4-4 I kind of just run together, because even if it went into some too high safety stuff, you're really talking about 4-3, and we're going to go over 4-3. So no real reason to kind of differentiate between the two except for personnel, unless they're doing something really exotic with it, which most likely they're not. They're in 4-2-5. They're probably going to play a lot of man, but they want to have four down linemen. So the thing that we really focus on in zone is the down linemen, because those are the things that are going to make the difference in the play being successful or not. Again, inside zone wide splits, outside zone tight splits, but we have to understand what changes when we bring in another defensive lineman. So the way I was taught is you want to run to the bubble. Now, whether you agree or disagree is completely and totally up to you. I don't particularly care, but I like the idea of running to space. You want to run to the bubble. So if you're looking here, there's a bubble. If you're looking here, there's a bubble. Up here at top, the bubble is here. That's the bubble. That's the area where we have a gap uncovered, followed by no defensive lineman shaded. Now here we have a gap uncovered, but that's not really a bubble because this guy's in a 1 and he's pretty tight. He's over this tackle. Now if he was in a 2I, that would most likely be the bubble. I may want to work to that bubble. So we want to run to the bubble. If you're looking here with a tight end, over here we kind of have a reduced look. Here's my bubble. So if I want to run to the bubble, I want to make sure that my zone principles take me to the bubble. Now, you could decide that you want to run to the bubble, and because this guy is in a 1 technique, you can double team this. Here's what I would tell you about double teaming in zone. It's an art form to it. And if you're not really good at the art form, you are exposing gaps to free running linebackers. I prefer to let the running back be the star instead of trying to let the offensive line be the star. Why? Because it creates consistency. I have a better chance of finding a running back who I can get to press hold or cut back than I do of getting two offensive linemen to be able to combo block to the second level before this really athletic linebacker is able to shoot a gap. So I want to keep everybody's principles the same. So everybody's going to take that zone bucket and work to their landmarks. Again, this is me. You could decide that you want to double team that. That is completely up to you. But I want my guys to be consistent. So regardless of what front they see, they're going to be able to see the consistency. Here we're going to run essentially weak because that's where the bubble is. So again, everybody taking those steps, working to their zone. Now you can see how this plays out right now. We have a couple of guys who are uncovered. Now, just for the sake of argument, if I wanted to double team and go kind of two, but double team up, I would double team the three, double team the nose to the mic, double team the three to that backer or the stud. Once again, double team the nose. See here, I'm gonna have to double team this nose to this stud, and double team this tackle to the mic if we're going weak. But again, now we're starting to play with the angles and we're starting to play with the principles of the zone, which is everybody flowing the same way. I want to keep everybody flowing the same way. So, looking at the way in which this is set up, we know this guy's responsible for B gap, this guy's responsible for A gap pre-snap. Pre-snap. So he already has in his mind, I'm going to take my zone step. If nobody shows immediately, I'm climbing to the second level. I'm going to take my zone step. If this nose doesn't slant across, I'm climbing up to the second level. There's no way this guy should be able to cross his face because he knows where he's going. He's stepping away from him and he's climbing. This guy knows I'm there. If that guy disappears, I'm still going to work my zones. So everybody works through. Sorry, that doesn't make any sense. So he's going to end up blocking this end. He's going to work to the second level. He's blocking the center. He's looking for that slant. Nothing. Okay, I'm going to work to the second level. He is going to work here. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, doesn't that leave this guy kind of vulnerable to make this tackle backside? Yes, it does. But that's why your back is the star. Because if this guy gets into the hip pocket and decides that he wants to really, come down on here, he'll get washed down by this tackle, and now the running back can get out the back door. Wherever that running back is, if he's here on the side and he's coming this way, he can get out the back door. If he's in pistol, he opens opposite, he can get out the back door because this end, if he crashes, this quarterback's pulling it and going. So that's how you keep them, being honest. So again, he steps this way, he climbs, he looks to take this tackle over because he's legitimately in his zone, or if he's running away from his zone, he tries to keep him flat on the line of scrimmage, push him down, and open up a cutback lane for the back. But we really want to press hold. We're going to press hold. That's the inside leg of the guard. We're going to press hold. We're going to look to punch it. If this guy comes down, you could possibly look to bounce it. But we really want to hit it quick in this area. Hold to this cutback, not necessarily out the back door. We come down here. We look at their climb. He's going to take this end. He's working up to the back. He's got the nose. He's working to the back unless they get a slant. Then he'll take the nose and he'll work up to the back. He's got the tackle. He's got the end. Both of them are doing the same thing. If that guy tries to penetrate, they're going to press them flat down the line and open up a cutback lane, cutback or out the back door for the back. So that way, they allow their backs to have a three-way go. That's what we always want to do. So if we're offset and the back's coming through, we want the back to have a three-way go. 1, 2, 3. Three-way go every time. You want to try to get this back to be north and south. That way he has better angles at his three-way go. If we're over here and we're in pistol, we're going to open opposite, right? And it's a three-way go. Punch it. Bounce it. Cut back. 1, 2, 3. Three-way go. That's how we take advantage of this blocking scheme versus the 42. Again, you can choose the double team. So if I wanted to double team it up here, I would deuce to the back. I would ace block to the back. He would still have his zone. But now, we've lost all the zone principles. We've lost all the zone principles. Now this is really more of a gap scheme than it is a zone scheme. It's more of a gap scheme than it is a zone scheme. Over here, the same thing. You would ace this nose to the front side, which is definitely difficult, right? You would deuce this tackle to the backside, which is definitely difficult. If you decided to run tight inside with this because you said, hey, I like this, okay, you're going to ace this nose, right? Ace this nose to the front side backer. You're going to block here, and you're going to tray block this end to whatever. Not worried about that in inside zone. This guy on the backside would now take the zone step and work up for that backside linebacker. Again, if you ran it to this bubble over here, same difference. He's there, right? He's there. We're going to ace that to the front side backer. That's tough. And then back here, he's going to work to the backside. We're going to read this guy, possibly throw RPO off that backside pony linebacker that's probably going to be extended with a number 2. Or blitzing off edge. So again, that's how we take care of our zone blocking inside versus a 4-2 versus a 4-3. Now, if we're talking about a 4-3, again, we're not going to go back through all of the inside principles. You kind of get where we're going with this, especially because we can dictate alignment based off of how we dictate defensive alignment in a 4-3 or a 4-2-4 or a 4-4, depending upon how we line up. But I'm going to talk about outside zone versus, and I'm going to show it to you versus a 4-3 so that you can actually see the 4-3 setup. So again, we know that we want to have tight splits on the outside zone. We know that we want to step flat for 2 steps, 3 if you prefer, but I like 2 steps flat. Again, do we want to work to the bubble? Why wouldn't we want to work to the bubble? If we work to the bubble, then we know that these linebackers have to check their gap before they go anywhere. If we work to the side without the bubble, we've got a guy sitting out here outside zone. Here we've got a guy in the gap. He's got to stay A gap. He has B gap first. So we know that we probably have a better opportunity at leverage to the bubble. So again, tight ends here, if we get the end like this, you've got a double bubble. Either way is good for me. So we want to let's work to this bubble. We're going to take our flat steps. He's going to look to take those 2 flat steps and work to that outside shoulder. He takes his 2 flat steps, right? And now when we look to work up, it really depends on what we get. Now the normal rule of thumb is 2 for 2. So these 2 for these 2. If it becomes here, he's working there. These 2 for these 2. He works here, I take him. He works there, you take them. I go flat and then I climb for the second level. He's looking to cut off on the backside. Again, this guy is being taken care of with the quarterback. That guy is being taken care of with coverage responsibilities, just in case we RPO off of it. So now when we work here, this guy should be working up after his 2 flat steps. He probably will end up cutting off. He's working up. He's going to end up cutting off. What does that look like if we're coming across on the stretch or on the outside zone? We're here. That guy gets hooked. It's simple business, right? Try to outrun him. Now, what if he doesn't get hooked? What if he's able to get leverage? Now we put our foot in the ground and go against the grain, right? Put our foot in the ground and go against the grain. Well, look what we have here. If that guy over pursues, we have a lane, a cutback lane, that our back or our receiver should be able to take advantage of. So we're looking hold a cutback. He's coming across, slow 2-speed through. He has to be smart enough to know I'm not necessarily just trying to beat everybody to the outside unless I see the advantage. So I'm slow 2, he hooks him, boom, I explode right now. He doesn't hook him, stick my foot in the ground, get north and south, and explode. Same thing over here. We'll go weak side. Since we went weak side the other time, we'll go weak side, especially with this end sitting in a head up on 8 on the tight end. So we'll go weak and look at our 2 flat steps down. Look who's climbing now. Now, that guy slants because that guy slants. They want to bring a game. It doesn't matter. It's these 2 for these 2, these 2 for these 2, and now these 2 for those 2, and we're reading off that backside end. And that would be the same regardless if they're in a 4-2 to 4-3. We're still going to have a 2 for 2 type of setup based off of the box. And we know it because their box is essentially C gap to A gap. Their box is A gap to A gap. Their box is A gap to C gap. So everybody really knows where their box is. They know how they have to play it. But again, watch what happens in this situation. Here's my ghost tight end now, because we want to be 1 by 1. That's the aiming point of the back. 1 by 1 outside the ghost tight end. Quarterback gets to him soon. If he gets hooked, keep riding. If that guy's able to set the edge, he gets here, boom. And again, look what we have. We have that lane. that we're able to cut back into that allows us to have success. Again, we're going to get one of these guys, we're going to get these guys taken care of, especially at the front, at the first level. The second level guys, they have to go through their principles. Outside zones, fast flow for him. He doesn't really have time to check his gap and work fast flow. Most of the time, he's going to cheat and just go fast flow. That's the first thing that opens up the passing lane. Now, when he does that, that's expected by this guy, so he's a scrape, stack, spot guy. So he fast flows, he scrape, stack, spot, close the distance. He should be there, but look what happens. We're coming for him. So if he comes and he goes, they're going to just fold back on whoever this linebacker is that shows fast. This guy should be coming negative A. So he should be taking away the deep cutback, but in outside zone, you're not cutting back to the opposite A unless you're Barry Sanders. And even then, that means that the play didn't work. The back just was better than everybody else. So he's taking himself out of the ability to make the tackle. So really, you just have to beat this one guy if these three handle these three, if these four handle these three perfectly, these four handle these three perfectly. You just have to beat this one guy if that guy is not taken by one of those four linemen. And that's how we rock with the inside zone and the outside zone versus a 4-2 and a 4-3. But what if they don't actually care about your pass? They are not intimidated by your pass. They just want to stop you from running zone. They could commit a fifth guy to that line and say, you know what, we're going to cover up these gaps. We're going to give them one place to go. They can't run zone versus this. Well, why can't you? At the end of the day, we're still talking about running zone as if it's 11 on 11 football, and that's important to remember. 11 on 11 means that my quarterback has to pose a legitimate threat in order for us to even the playing field against a 50 front. So if we're running zone, inside or outside, the quarterback has to be ready to be a part of the action if we want to have success with zone. Let's look it up here. Okay, so there is no bubble, right? There's no bubble. There's no legitimate strength. If we are 2-by-2, they may shift one guy over, but the truth is, if they're in a 5-3, they're probably 5-2, they're probably manning people up. So it's our 5, 6, 7 versus their 7. Who's going to be more successful? So the first thing we have to know is inside zone, right? Let's just keep our principles the same. Let's make sure we keep the main thing the main thing. Boom. 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 Okay, so now that we have this, who's climbing? Because we've got 5 guys for 5 guys. Who's climbing and where are they climbing at? It all depends on who flashes in what gap. But right here, it's probably going to be one of these 2 guys. If the nose tries the 2 gap, meaning if he tries to put hands onto the center, then this guy is going to climb. He's going to cut off, and now this is most likely going to hit backside or back door. Because here, this guy's free as a hitter. So he's free as a hitter. He's going to hit this gap hard. You're going to find some type of reprieve, back door, cut back or out the back door. So we're going to climb for most likely this linebacker, which will have to come this way because he sees the flow, right? Okay, that's fine. Well, how does that happen? because we have to keep this end occupied with the quarterback. That's how we get the advantage back. We keep the end occupied with the quarterback. Now, do we love it? No, we don't love inside zone versus this, but if everybody does their job, everyone should still be able to make this happen. Quickly, we look down at the bottom. We do have a bubble in this. We got to take advantage of it. Even though we're running off the guard, we still know right here, boom, boom, okay? So we're here, here. So he's going to take here. This guy will probably be the one to climb. He doesn't have anybody in his gap. So if that guy slanted, I guess, but that guy should not be slanting across this tight end's face. Now, if he's in a head up 8, that's a possibility. He actually wants to make sure he takes his zone step before he climbs. Okay? So now, in this, we do have everybody picked up with this extra tight end. We're still reading this in. And now, when we come off, we have a way to go. If this guy takes this, we take that guy. He's here. We might be able to punch into that secondary gap or cut back. It really all depends on what we're able to do. And this end is still occupied by the quarterback. Now, outside zone, let's look at that really quick, and I'll do this in red. Outside zone, we're looking to reach, right? Reach, 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 reach. Well, the advantage that we have in outside zone is if they have 5 people dedicated to the line and we're looking to reach, if we can get the edge, we stand a really good chance of getting yards because these guys are probably in man out here somewhere or occupied with the receivers. So we have a big opportunity. Now, you still get, if we're bringing this back across, he could still go this way, or if that guy comes over, that guy gets there, maybe now the lane is here. And he's able to cut back and take advantage of that lane. Same thing down here. If we work weak, you get the exact same thing you get here. If you work strong and we look to reach, he should be able to climb and cut that secondary level guy off. He's here. He's here. He's climbing. He's washing down. We're reading that backside. Now, sorry, not reading that backside, but we're booting back to that backside, most likely off of naked action. So now, when we run our stretch, right? Now, we should be able to get this edge. If not, he comes here. We just get north and south because this guy has an opportunity to get to that linebacker. So that's a way we can have success in stretch or outside zone and an inside zone versus a 5-man front. Now, my favorite thing about zone is the fact that you can formation the heck out of defenses when you're running zone, because the zone action never changes and you want to see how many people they're going to commit to the pass. So for instance, here against a 33, anytime you have a backside pony, I always say the backside pony's not covering someone, then most likely that backside pony's coming. Now, There are some that will rob and play a combination coverage with that. That's cool. That works to your advantage as well. So now we have this 3-by-1 set. How far can we pull the pony and the linebacker out? If I go from this 3-by-1 set to a stack set, do I get the pony all the way out here and a linebacker playing in the depth? If I adjust and go to an empty set, do I then get a 5-man box? And now I can run QB inside zone or QB outside zone. It really does open up a myriad of possibilities. So the one thing I would tell you about formations is formation, formation, formation. Have a formation period. If you're not running zone out of at least 6+ formations, then you're not taking advantage of the way in which zone can be run. And that's unfortunate because you're not going to reap the benefits of zone. The one thing I would tell you is that if you're going to run zone out of passing formations, which you should, the moment they don't respect your passing formation, you got to throw it. You got to have an automatic throw. It must be in there. That's how you keep them honest. That's how you keep them moving these guys out. If you never throw it out here, this guy will get closer and closer. Defensive coordinators will get more and more bold and say, hey, prove it. We haven't seen you do it. If you really can hit us with the pass, prove it. So every day you should be working a quick pass, snap and throw, snap and throw, snap and throw. And then you have to give your quarterback, I know this is crazy, offensive guys, you have to give your quarterback autonomy that if he feels like this dude is not respecting this heavy passing strength, that he can throw that ball. If you make him feel bad about a bad decision, then he'll be gun shy and he'll never throw it when you want him to throw it. So if he throws it and he should not have thrown it, he should have just ran the play, then when he comes back off, say, hey, listen, tell me what you saw there. Let me know why it is you decided that you wanted to throw that. Oh, well, the linebacker or the pony looked like he was creeping. Okay, cool. Let's go look at it on film. Linebacker or the pony's not really creeping. We see the advantage we want to take. We want to take what we can take, right? But that doesn't happen if you dog cuss him because he threw it out here and then it got stopped for a -1 or a 0-yard gain. They have football players too. They're going to win sometime. So if you give them the confidence, then you really can keep this defense stretched out. My favorite formations to run versus this, stay with 3-by-1s because I can dictate the strength. So whether that be regular trips, whether that would be a regular trips, whether it would be a wing trips, whether that would be a tight end trips, like a tray, so a tight end and 2 guys out here, whether that would be like a bunch. Two-back zone. Not too many people are running two-back zone anymore, especially in youth league and high school, which I don't really understand why, because there's so many advantages that you can get to two-back zone. I'm going to just tell you a couple of the two-back zones I like. First thing I like about two-back zone, if you've seen any of my other videos, is that you can play with the alignment of your backs. And depending upon what type of backs that you have, like if you have 2 legitimate backs, then you really can call things in a manner where they don't know who the lead back is, who the back that normally gets the ball is. To me, that's the best kind. And so one back becomes either a lead back or becomes, I'm sorry, they don't know which one is the primary back. So either one becomes the lead back on a lead zone, or is the backside on a split zone action. Either way, you get the desire that you're looking for. You can also use a back to be like the option off of a zone option. So right here, let's say if I wanted to designate these two guys, this will be 2 and this will be 3, right? Because he's closer, we'll just say he's a fullback. So anything I'm running, that's 32. If I want to run him, that's 22. So 2 side being the even side. So if I run 32 zone, I'm running here. Everybody's in their normal zone track, right? I'm reading here. I'm pitching if this guy is here. So that's my second read. So now he ends up being here, quarterback, and now he's got a pitch man. But if I ran 22 zone, he would come and still run the same thing, and now this guy is going to be my block that secondary guy. So now this dude still is my read. If he comes down, I pull it, but now I have a lead blocker out in front of me. If I put this fullback to the front side, same thing, but now I get a split zone action. I could either have him go and kick out this end to make the natural cutback, or what I prefer, continue him out so that he can block, because the natural cutback is because we're reading off this guy. So again, different ways to be able to run this. So this would be like a far right. This would be like a near right. You could have a near right 22, a far right 22. You could have a far right 32, a near right 33. But either way, you would have an inside zone with both of your backs versus a 3-man front. So that's the way in which we could use it. We could also look at it from split backs, right? Split backs, and now if we want to say the 2 back is opposite the call, say this will be the 2, this will be the 3, we'll call this near right because the 3 is here, near right, 22 zone, he's going to split, or he could come here. So whichever you want, if you want to call zone, 22 zone, he's coming here to 22. 22 zone, he splits, works to the outside. 22 zone option, he gets in the pitch relationship. Which one do you want him to do? Right? 32, it's the same thing. So now both of these things, 33, so now both of these guys are the same. You could just dictate who you want to get the ball where. That's a beautiful way in order to run. You can even add in the go-go, which if you've seen my 2-back run game, you've seen me use the go-go. If you've watched any of my games, you've seen me use the go-go formation. Now both of your backs are over here, right? And now you could run a 23, say he's the furthest one away. You could run a 23, he's going to come through and lead, or he can block back while he comes through. So he'll block backside, He comes through in his normal zone action. Quarterback could pull, and now he's got a lead blocker out in front of him. So we could see how, and then obviously you could still run 32 and then just have him run out here, and again, you still got that same action off of reading him and then using this guy as your lead blocker. So a lot of ways that you can use things, even in the two-back with the zone. That's a lot of information on this first edition of The Install. I've been Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers. Make sure that you tell people we need your help. These long-form things take some time to put together for us to be able to give you all this information and make sure that you have everything that you need in order to install this information for yourself. So a lot more information than we're given in our X and O's to Joe's. So again, tell people, please support, have them come out. We love the support that you've given us so far, and we want to see this thing continue to grow. So until next time, I'm Coach Gene Clemens. This has been The Install, the Zone Run Game.